big defense contractors to be held to the highest of standards. No more egregious executive bonuses, no more stock buybacks, no more ridiculous CEO salaries when you can't even deliver weapons on time for the warfighter.
This may look like a routine policy speech, but it's actually a stress test of how power is exercised in America's defense system. What's really being tested here is whether national security decisions are driven by performance and accountability or insulated by profit structures that resist scrutiny. This raises broader questions about how public money, private industry, and military urgency intersect when stakes are existential. In this video, we'll break down how a public challenge to defense contractors signals a shift in expectations, and what it reveals about authority, incentives, and responsibility at the heart of the American system.
And like he would expect from all of you, we expect back to defense and the industries in defense, no more excuses, no more barriers to entry, no more monopolies. Guaranteeing that companies like Blue Origin, in factories just like this one, can compete. And yes, that means speaking some tough truths, as the president did when he signed an executive order on January 7th, ordering big defense contractors to be held to the highest of standards. No more egregious executive bonuses, no more stock buybacks, no more ridiculous CEO salaries when you can't even deliver weapons on time for the warfighter. The companies we invest in need to prioritize the warfighter. We need to put the warfighters first, just as you put your products every day first. And that's why it's an honor to look out at this great audience here of Americans who appreciate the spirit of that executive order. You see, I don't mind people making lots and lots of money. Please make lots and lots of money. But if you're going to do so, deliver for the American people and the taxpayers the capabilities you said you would deliver. That is something you do here. And so I hope you make lots of money. I'm telling the guy who makes a lot of money to make a lot more money. We love that. I'm a capitalist. We all are. But we need to raise the urgency of the moment requires it. You sit in the Oval Office with President Trump, and I know you have, sir. You feel it. He gets what we're up against. He gets how important it is. He understands the capability of the American worker. That if we unleash the American worker and American industry, we will outcompete. We will out-innovate. But buildings like the Pentagon have held that back for decades. And with this Arsenal of Freedom tour, we say no more. We will unleash American space dominance. You see, it was President Trump also in 2019 who established the Space Force as the sixth military branch, and he established it for a reason. In warfare, we can't just command the skies and the seas or our hemisphere. We have to dominate the ultimate high ground. We've always known this. Any infantryman knows this. Anybody knows this. Whoever controls the high ground controls the fight. Space is the ultimate high ground. So we will chart the path. We will set the tone. We always have, and we will again. So in conjunction with our efforts from the Space Force, we will continue to ensure peace through strength with our partners who are critical. Companies like Blue Origin, companies like SpaceX, and others who are critical to ensuring that we dominate space. We welcome those partners, and we will stand shoulder to shoulder with you in these critical efforts. You see, we don't care. You care. But we don't care what company name is printed on the side of a rocket. You should care. I know you hope it says Blue Origin. We don't care what company name appears on ladders on planes or what company name is painted on a satellite. We just want the best. And we don't care how many lobbyists or accountants have. If you create the best, the fastest, on behalf of taxpayers and warfighters, you're going to win. And that's what President Trump's War Department expects. And I'm hopeful, and based on what I saw today, Blue Origin's going to do plenty of winning. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing for your company. That's a great thing for you. But most importantly, that's a great thing for our country. That's what we need. That's what my kids and grandkids need. They need men and women like you dedicated to your craft. That's what the trigger pullers need, the pilots need, the surface warfare officers need, the medics need. All those guys and gals wearing camouflage need you. They need Blue Origin. They need space dominance. That's our job at the War Department, is to allow you to run and run as fast as you can. And your leadership here knows, and the rest of the leadership across our defense industrial base need to know, this is not about Wall Street. It's not about dividends. It's not about stock buybacks. This is about warriors. And how quickly can we deliver to them as quickly as possible the most lethal capabilities? President Trump is deadly serious. He feels the urgency, and so do I. We must rebuild our arsenal of freedom, maintain supremacy over the space domain. We'll go fast, and we'll move fast every single day. And as I look out at all of you, cold, but heads nodding. I see heads nodding everywhere. We have the best workforce in the world, the best engineers, the best entrepreneurs, and the best innovators.
The moment that just unfolded was not delivered in whispers or wrapped in diplomatic language. It was spoken plainly, directly, and without apology. Standing inside a factory floor, Pete Hegseth looked out at defense industry leaders and declared that excuses were over. Monopolies were over. Guaranteed profits without performance were over. With Jeff Bezos in the room, with Blue Origin as the backdrop, he said what few officials ever say out loud. If you take taxpayer money, you deliver. A, on time, at scale, and with urgency. Or you should not be rewarded at all. That moment matters because it pulls back the curtain on a system that has operated for decades with minimal public scrutiny. A system where massive contracts flow, delays are normalized, and accountability is often softened by layers of bureaucracy. Hegseth did not frame this as a partisan issue or a personal grievance. He framed it as a moral obligation. When he spoke about ending excessive executive bonuses, stock buybacks, and inflated CEO compensation, he wasn't attacking capitalism. He was drawing a line between productive capitalism and complacent power. This is a rare thing in American governance, a senior official openly acknowledging that the problem is not a lack of money, talent, or innovation, but a lack of urgency. He made it clear that profit itself is not the enemy. In fact, he encouraged companies to make money, a lot of it. But only if they deliver exactly what they promised to the American people: capability, speed, reliability, results. That distinction cuts to the core of how power operates in Washington. Too often, the conversation around defense spending is reduced to abstract numbers, budgets, and appropriations. What Hegseth did in this speech was re-anchor that conversation in responsibility. He reminded the audience that behind every delayed delivery and every missed deadline is a real cost, not just on spreadsheets, but on national readiness and long-term security. When he spoke about the Pentagon holding innovation back for decades, he was acknowledging an uncomfortable truth. Bureaucracy, once designed to ensure oversight, can harden into a system that rewards risk avoidance instead of excellence. The message from this stage was simple. That era is ending. The arsenal of freedom language was not nostalgic rhetoric. It was a declaration of intent that American industry is being called to move faster, compete harder, and stop hiding behind process. Nowhere was that message clearer than in his focus on space. He did not treat space as a futuristic concept or a distant ambition. He described it as what it has already become: the ultimate high ground. Control the high ground, and you control the outcome. That logic has defined conflict for centuries, and in this speech, it was applied without hesitation to the modern era. By invoking the creation of the Space Force and tying it directly to strategic necessity, Hegseth placed American space dominance at the center of national defense. Not as a branding exercise, not as a prestige project, but as a practical requirement. He emphasized that the government does not care whose name is painted on the side of a rocket or a satellite. It cares about who can deliver the best capability, the fastest, at the highest standard. That statement quietly dismantles one of the most powerful forces in Washington: influence without performance. Lobbyists, accountants, branding. None of it matters, he said, if the product is not superior. In that moment, the audience was not being flattered. They were being challenged. This is where the speech moves beyond policy and into values. Hegseth repeatedly redirected attention away from Wall Street metrics and back toward purpose. Dividends and stock prices, he argued, cannot be the North Star when national security is at stake. Speed matters, execution matters, outcomes matter, and they matter now. When he spoke about future generations, his kids and grandkids, it was not sentimental. It was strategic. He framed the responsibility of today's industry leaders as generational. What is built now determines what kind of security exists decades from now. That kind of framing changes the moral weight of every decision made in boardrooms and contracting offices. The underlying message of this moment is uncomfortable for entrenched power, but energizing for innovation. The United States does not lack capability. It lacks alignment, and alignment only comes when expectations are clear and enforcement is real. By stating that the Department of Defense exists to enable industry to move fast, not slow it down, Hegseth inverted the traditional narrative. Government is no longer the passive check writer. It is the standard setter. This speech, delivered in front of some of the most influential figures in American industry, was not about applause. It was about accountability. It was a signal that the relationship between government and defense contractors is being redefined. Not through slogans, but through consequences. What we witnessed was a rare moment of clarity in a system known for ambiguity. A moment where power spoke directly to performance, where urgency replaced comfort, and where the message was unmistakable. This is not about prestige politics or profit alone. This is about readiness, capability, and responsibility. In times of uncertainty, nations reveal who they truly are by what they tolerate and what they demand. This moment showed a demand for more speed, more integrity, more seriousness about the stakes involved. Whether that demand is met will define the next chapter of American defense and industrial leadership, and that is why moments like this matter. They expose the tension between what has been accepted and what is now required. They force institutions to choose between comfort and change. If you believe accountability should matter at the highest levels of power, if you believe words should lead to action, and if you want to understand how these moments shape the future of the country, stay with us. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA.